All right, a lot of people are talking about the book Heaven is for Real. It is a best-selling book based on the experiences of Colton Burpo, who as a young boy had a near-death experience, or so he says. He says he saw heaven.
Yeah, the book, which was written by his father, has been turned into a movie this year, so they are making quite a bit of money off of all this. It is now on home video, and Norma talked to both Colton and his father, Todd, about the so-called experience.
Thanks so much for joining us. We're here to talk all about Heaven is for Real. It's now out on Blu-ray. This is just going to get the story out to more and more people who maybe didn't see it in the theaters or haven't seen it in the theaters yet.
Thank you, Norma. I appreciate it.
Talk about the reaction, you've gotten so much reaction to this movie that I remember when the book came out and so many people talked about the book and you know, there's so many different things. People say, you know, that your son had a dream, you know, had a very vivid dream, you know, and then there are those, you know, who would say that, you know, that what he had really wasn't a near-death experience, or they attribute what he saw to, you know, oxygen deprivation. What do you say? How do you handle those critics?
Yeah. Well, I wish you know, the first thing I'd like to say is I think critics are the loudest, and all the people that write to us and ask us to share more, they understand this is the truth. But for the critics out there, I think there's two questions I ask them. One, you know, as a parent, I know when a 4-year-old's telling the truth. You might not know when your 14-year-old is, but any honest parent can tell the difference. There's no way a 4-year-old can make this up. And when people see the DVD, see the movie, they're going to see what I saw, and they're going to know that's for real. The other thing in the movie, when people watch it, they see how a small town works. Anyone had access to go up and talk to Colton. Anyone could ask him questions. I have 2,000 witnesses. I ask people all the time, where are the people from Imperial that said we invented this? And they're like, well, there isn't anyone. And that's right, because we did this together. It was a shared experience. And I think that's something the critics need to really consider when they look at this story.
Shared experience, meaning that your whole community went through this. It wasn't just, it just wasn't Colton.
They absolutely did. Yeah. The newspaper article that you see in the film and the DVD, and all that's true.
Colton, has your story changed since you were a 4-year-old? You're now a teenager.
Well, the only differences are some of my memories have faded, but also the stuff that I can remember I can describe more because my vocabulary has increased.
When you were a kid, you had fewer words to describe what happened to you. Todd, have you ever worried that people might say, well, you know, the story gets more and more vivid because he does have more words? Clearly, he's a young man now. But, you know, he's a teenager. But, you know, has the story kind of grown to be something it's not, or maybe something that it wasn't, or?
Well, one thing about Colton that I'm very grateful for, if he doesn't remember something, he'll just tell you, I don't remember that. He never has tried to go off on rabbit trails to please people or tell them what they wanted to hear. All he's ever done is, this is what I remember, this is what I saw. And he's very good at doing that, and he continues to do that still today.
There are Christians who don't believe this story, though. Does that bother you? I mean, you referred to them one time as Pharisees. Today, you know, Pharisees used to call themselves Jews. Today, they call themselves Christians.
Yeah. Well, when you look into the Bible and if you read it, Jesus said, I want you to share with others what I've done for you. And for them to deny that today and deny that God still answers prayer and somehow he's changed, that's not a biblical representation of Jesus Christ. And when you look at the Mount of Transfiguration, and so many people, like even in the Old Testament and John in the New Testament, who God showed pictures and glimpses of heaven to do, to him, this is a biblical representation. And these people who say they believe in the Bible need to represent it correctly, and they don't.
Well, what if they just don't believe your son?
Well, that's okay. I had a hard time believing my son at first, too, just because I didn't know how a 4-year-old could understand all this stuff either. But as I checked it against history, as I checked it against the reality we knew, and in the scriptures, he was spot on, and God really did a miracle for us.
The story, you know, for people who are watching and don't know, Colton, you said you had a surgery and you had a near-death experience. You knew things after you woke up that your parents said that there's no way you could have known at 4 years old, right?
Yeah. Being able to tell my dad that I saw him in that room praying, and just telling my mom that she had a miscarriage. Those two were very big points that there's no way I could have ever come up with that.
And I know, Todd, for you that must have been hard to hear your little boy say to you that he heard, you know, that he met his sister in heaven. That had to be incredibly, you must have just been scratching your head saying, how in the world does my son know that?
Yeah. Well, for my wife, you know, she carried a lot of hurt with that, and she buried it under, you know, underneath life. She went on to parent Colton, and she had a lot of struggles, like, did I do something to cause the miscarriage? Did I eat something wrong? I think a lot of mamas have that problem. And so she bottled it up inside, and her first question back to Colton, when Colton said, you had a baby die in your tummy, didn't you, Mom? It was like, who told you that? She felt like she had been betrayed, maybe. Who let that secret out? And no one did. He had met her in heaven, and that's where it came from. And that hurt turned into a healing. And I think when a lot of people see the movie and read the book, the hurts they carry can be healed as well.
A lot of people have watched, have seen the movie, they've read the book, and it's turned people, it's created debate, it's created discussion, people have disagreed, and some people have turned to God. Is that ultimately what you want at the end of the day?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. My favorite review that I've read, and if you go to chatrooms.coms, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all over, you're going to see lots of reviews. But my favorite one is this. You know, I don't know if I believe in God or the Bible, but after reading this book or watching this movie, I might be wrong. That's my favorite reaction of all.
Well, it is such an honor to talk to you, Colton and Todd. And
oh, thank you.
We thank you so much for sharing your story. I know this is something you'll be talking about the rest of your lives. Indeed. And
we will.
We thank you for sharing the time with us today and for answering our questions. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much. God bless.